What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like and subscribe if you're new and hit that bell notification. Make sure you put that on all. So let's get into it. So the big fight on Saturday night, aka Sunday morning for us here in the UK, was Vergil Ortiz versus Bohachuk. Now, Bohachuk, that's a bit of a difficult name for me to pronounce, but I'm trying to get used to it. So, yeah, we had that fight on Saturday night, headliner Michelob Ultra Arena, I think you call it, over in Las Vegas. So, this was a fight that was, first of all, brilliant, very, very entertaining. I mean, it kind of swung back and forth. I thought it was a tight fight. It was a close fight. From the opening bell, both guys engaged. Bohachuk was able to push Vergil Ortiz back and was able to get him sort of not really back foot boxing, but using sort of a low slung left hand and trying to use his jab. And Bohachuk just throughout the entire fight pretty much just came forward. As a commentary said, he came forward pretty much like a cyborg all night long. For me, it was a pretty, even very close first round. But then I reckon for me, Bohachuk got the better of the first round because he scored the knockdown. At first, the referee didn't count it. They had to conclude that it was a knockdown later on. But when you watch the fight, you watch the footage, you can pretty much see that it's a knockdown. Vergil Ortiz protests and says it's not a knockdown, but when you watch the fight, you'll see that he gets knocked down by a punch, and that gives a 2-point round to Bohachuk, so he has a big head start going in. And as the fight wore on, it was very much a close fight, back and forth. There wasn't really that much in it. I think the distinction you can kind of make, though, is that Vergil Ortiz's work was a lot more sort of eye-catching to the eye. So even when for me to kind of make a judgment on it, I had to watch it twice. I had to watch it a good couple of times just to sort of get a grip and see what I think about it. Because a lot of the rounds very, very close, and you had to really have a keen eye and look at it closely because you had both guys landing shots, but of the two, Vergil Ortiz's shots were more eye-catching. They were more conventional. The technique he uses is a lot more aesthetically pleasing, whereas Bohachuk, when he's landing punches, he's effective, but he's quite awkward in the way that he throws punches, in the way, how they're thrown, how they land. So with his awkward technique, it's like sometimes you miss things. Sometimes you miss that he's landed a certain shot. And I think maybe that's what happened with the judges. Maybe the more aesthetically pleasing style of Ortiz was what they were looking for. It seems that way, at least. So as it went on, it was very much a brawl back and forth. Both men hurt each other, but when Vergil Ortiz did it, his shots were a bit more eye-catching, and so it's very close. I have it quite a close fight as we go into sort of the mid-rounds, 7th round, and then 8th round comes around again, and it's another knockdown by Bohachuk. So now we've got 2 knockdowns going against Vergil Ortiz, and for me, that really, as much as it was quite back and forth for a lot of the fight, I think the first and then the second knockdown in the 8th round, for me, really turned it around in Bohachuk's favor, that to the point where all he had to do is, win maybe another round, just stay on his feet and be competitive for those last 4 rounds. And for me, he walks away with the fight. Wins it by at least a couple of rounds, at least 2-3 rounds, for me. So a fight goes on, the knockdown happens, Ortiz protests again, and then he gets back up. To his respect to him, he recovers very well, and again it's very close, back and forth. Ortiz manages to hurt Bohachuk multiple times. Bohachuk manages to hurt Ortiz. But of course, with the they're more on the comms. They're more sort of noticing Vergil Ortiz's work. But for me, they both hurt each other. They both had to eat shots, and it was those rounds those last four were quite tough to score. And it was really, really close. And, 12th round, for me, from what I recall of the fight, I think that Bohachuk had the better last round, ever so slightly edged the 12th, and then Ortiz had the better 11th. But I still felt that overall, I thought that watching it, especially the second time, there's no way that you could really score this fight to Vergil Ortiz. And the main reasons were, number one, it was close. So Vergil Ortiz, he did well, and his work was eye-catching, but he was also getting caught. He was also losing a couple rounds along the way, and I felt that it was too competitive, and with the two knockdowns for Bohachuk, especially second watch, I thought there's no way you can really take the belt off of Bohachuk, because he's won a few rounds at least. He's won at least 2-3 rounds, even outside of the knockdown. So even if you want to say, okay, he won the 2 rounds where he knocked Ortiz down, you have to say that. And then even if you only give him 3 other rounds, he wins the fight. He wins the fight 7-5. And I think for me, he at least wins, apart from the 2 knockdown rounds, he at least wins another 3 rounds on top of that, because the fight was so close. If not 4, he definitely won at least another 3-4 rounds on top of the knockdown round. So for me, there's no way that Vergil Ortiz could win that fight on points. I mean, it was close. It was a very competitive fight, but I think Bohachuk done more than enough to separate himself, and he made it very clear that he won the fight, because you just can't give it away. So for me, even the draw scorecard, I mean, I could sort of understand it because there was a lot of competitive rounds, but even that, it's like for you to score it a draw means you only give Bohachuk about, the 2 knockdown rounds and then maybe 1 other round, and I think that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You got to give him at least another 2-3 rounds, at least. So for me, it's I'm not going to go around saying robbery, but I certainly wouldn't really argue with anyone who calls it a robbery, because I myself watching it, there's no way you could give it to Ortiz, really. I mean, you could give it a draw, but even if you were to score this fight a draw, I'd say you're doing wrong to Bohachuk. So I think Bohachuk really deserved to hold on to his belts. I think he won several rounds and he got the knockdowns, as I've repeated multiple times in this video. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Bohachuk definitely deserved to hold on to his belt. And, it's one of those things where I see it as just kind of a sort of hometown decision, where Ortiz, he's the guy with the future. He's the known guy. He's the guy that they're trying to line up for a Terence Crawford fight in the future, or maybe a Tim Tszyu fight. He's the guy that is lined up for big things. And this is like one of them decisions where the home fighter gets it, the American fighter gets it, or not even just the fact that he's American, but also he's the fighter that's on the zone. He's the one that they're trying to big up and they're trying to push for big fights in the future. He's the man that's, obviously his name is marketable. He's got the fan base, and he's the guy that will sell. He's a guy that will sell tickets, Whereas if you try to sell Terence Crawford versus Bohachuk, it would be another fight where it's under the radar. It wouldn't be nowhere near as big as it would be with a guy like Vergil Ortiz. So it's kind of one of them political decisions, at least in my view. But anyway, let me know what you thought about this fight. Do you think, like me, that Bohachuk deserved to hold on to his belt, or perhaps you disagree? Perhaps you think Vergil Ortiz won. But anyway, let me know your thoughts, what you thought about the fight in the comment section below. And until next time, it's MKO Pugilism over now.